Today, we're going to talk about something very important, the ego and the higher self. Stay calm and don't be alarmed. I'll explain everything in a fun and lively way, and we'll understand the difference between them. Let's start with the ego. Imagine this: you're living your life, doing your thing, when suddenly, oops! The ego enters the stage. This is that annoying guy, full of himself, who loves to show off and be the center of attention. Raise your hand if you've never had an unpleasant encounter with the ego. But hey, it's not the villain of the story. It has its important role. It's like that friend who wants to protect you, you know. Sometimes it exaggerates, but deep down, it wants what's best for you. This fascinating character that dwells within each one of us. You know, the ego is like that annoying relative who always wants to show up at family parties. It loves to be the center of attention and often becomes inflated with pride and vanity. Who hasn't had a moment when the ego took over and made you feel like the king or queen of the world? But listen, my people, the ego is not the villain. It has its function, just like superheroes have their powers. The ego is there to protect us, to help us navigate the world and build our identity. It's like the bodyguard of our self-esteem, ready to defend us when we feel threatened. The problem is when the ego starts to lose control and wants to dominate the scene all the time. It whispers things like, "You're better than others. You deserve more recognition. No one can surpass you." And folks, just so you know, this can be very dangerous, you know. When the ego becomes too inflated, we lose touch with reality. We become arrogant, egocentric, and disconnected. We become so focused on proving our worth and being number one that we forget the importance of the collective, empathy, and humility. And that's where the great challenge comes in: how to tame that ego and keep it under control. It's like having a wild beast inside us that needs to be trained. The key is to cultivate awareness, self-observation, and humility. When we become aware of the ego's movements, we can question its intentions. We can ask ourselves, am I acting from the ego or from my true self? It's a profound reflection that leads us on a journey of self-discovery and self-awareness. And remember, the ego is not our true self. It's just a mask we wear on this stage called life. Our true self, the higher self, is that pure and loving essence that goes beyond appearances, power games, and the quest for recognition. So, folks, let's embrace the ego, appreciate its protection, but also remember that it should not dominate the scene. Let's seek balance, humility, and connection with our true self. That way, we'll become protagonists of a more authentic, lighter, and meaningful life. Now it's time for the higher self. This is your illuminated side, your deepest and truest essence. It's like your elevated self, your inner guide. You know when you have that intuition, that feeling that something is right? Well, that's your higher self in action. It's that wise and loving friend who always has the right answer for you. Now, here's a super important thing you need to know. To connect with your higher self, you need to quiet the mind, seek moments of meditation or introspection. It's like saying hello to your inner self, you know. When you're in tune with it, everything flows, the answers appear, and you feel at peace. It's the most incredible part of ourselves. Just imagine, within each of us, there's an enlightened being, full of wisdom and unconditional love. That being is our higher self. While the ego loves to show off and be the center of attention, the higher self is like that wise counselor, always ready to guide us on the right path. It's like a bright lighthouse, illuminating our way in the darkest hours. When we're connected with our higher self, we feel deep peace and absolute confidence. It's as if we have access to universal knowledge, an infinite source of love and wisdom. It's a magical feeling, my friends. But how do we find this wonderful higher self? That's the key, my people. We need to quiet the mind, find moments of silence and inner peace. It's when we connect with our deepest essence, with the voice of our intuition, that we find our higher self. It's as if we establish a direct connection with the universe, with something greater than ourselves. And in that moment of connection, we are flooded with a sense of wholeness, of being in perfect harmony with the flow of life. So, folks, tell me, have you ever had those moments when you felt a wise inner voice guiding you in the right direction? Those brilliant insights that seem to come out of nowhere. That's your higher self in action. When we are aligned with our higher self, life flows in surprising ways. We find the answers we seek, make wiser decisions, and feel filled with deep love and gratitude. So, my people, let's connect with this incredible higher self that exists within each of us. Let's seek moments of stillness, reflection, and meditation, so that we can hear the voice of our intuition, the voice of our true self. And remember, folks, the higher self is our most authentic essence. It's that core of love and wisdom that goes beyond appearances, labels, and social masks. It's our true essence, shining with all its light. So, my dear ones, let's make space for our higher self in our lives. Let's cultivate moments of silence and connection, so that we can hear the voice of our heart and follow our true purpose. Oh, and one more thing, folks, the ego and the higher self are like a dance. They are partners, and they need to learn to dance together in harmony. When the ego and the higher self are in balance, then it's a party. You become the best version of yourself, confident yet humble, able to recognize your worth without needing to show off. So, my dear listeners, remember, you have the power to balance the ego and the higher self. Accept the ego as a friend who wants the best for you, but don't let it take over the show. Connect with your higher self, that wiser and more loving part of yourselves, and you will see how amazing life can be. Now tell me, did you enjoy this lively conversation about the ego and the higher self? I'm sure you're now ready to shine in the dance of life. And to sum up everything we've talked about, my friends, we have two characters within us, the ego and the higher self. The ego is like an inconvenient relative who loves to be the center of attention and protect us. On the other hand, the higher self is our enlightened, wise, and loving essence. While the ego seeks recognition and power, the higher self guides us with wisdom and unconditional love. To find balance, we need to acknowledge the role of the ego, keeping it in check while connecting with the higher self. Through awareness and the pursuit of moments of inner silence, we can hear the voice of our higher self, finding answers, confidence, and profound peace. In doing so, we embark on a path of authenticity, balance, and fulfillment. So, my friends, remember, you have the power to balance the ego and connect with the higher self. Cultivate awareness, humility, and the search for moments of silence. In doing so, you will shine as the perfect union between the ego and your most authentic essence. Now, who's excited to connect with their higher self? Who's ready to embark on a journey of love, wisdom, and authenticity? Who's ready for this journey of self-discovery? Let's tame this beast called the ego and connect with our deepest essence. I'm confident that together we can achieve balance and true happiness. Let's go. I know you are. Come on, shine like the stars you are and let your higher self guide every step of this incredible journey called life. Until next time, my friends. Enjoy yourselves, be authentic, and never stop shining.